3 rules: no disturbing, no crossing boundaries, and no talking. Sign this, and I'll agree to be your roommate. To save on rent, I, Ethan Cole, had agreed to move in with a stranger. The moment I pushed the door open, Chloe Miller, the undisputed queen of our old campus, held out a sheet of printer paper with a completely deadpan expression. I took the paper and pen automatically, my fingertips accidentally brushing against her ice-cold hand. Suddenly, a frantic, flustered voice flooded my mind. Oh my God, I'm dying. I'm a sweaty mess from moving my stuff. My makeup's probably melted off. Does he think I'm some kind of ghost? I stared in shock at her perfectly composed, chilly face. Wait, she hadn't opened her mouth. Where did that voice come from? Could I be hearing the thoughts of Chloe Miller, the girl every guy on campus had dreamed about? The paper and pen felt heavy in my hand. A bead of sweat dripped from my face onto a cardboard box at my feet. The woman in front of me was a vision. Long, dark hair cascaded down to her waist, and her skin was so pale and luminous it looked like it was lit from within. She wore a simple white sweatsuit and leaned against her bedroom door, radiating a vibe that screamed stay away. Back in college, the line of guys trying to ask her out could have wrapped around the block. She was famously, impossibly out of everyone's league, and she was my new roommate. The kicker? I could hear her real thoughts. Score. This was epic. So this was the very busy professional the rental agent had mentioned. I just stood there frozen, her brow furrowed slightly, her eyes like chips of ice. Don't just stand there. Sign it, she said, her tone even colder than her gaze. The house rules are on the fridge. Keep it quiet, no unnecessary communication, and stay out of my personal space. She paused, glanced at the boxes by my feet, and added, and don't mess up the common areas. With that, she executed a flawless turn, not giving me a second glance, and grabbed her doorknob. It was like looking at me for one more second might physically stain her eyes. Cold. Ice cold. She might as well have built a 10-foot wall between us. A strange surge of irritation shot through me, my face burning with embarrassment. I bent down, trying to straighten a box, my movements clumsy and rushed. Just as my fingers touched the cardboard. Slam! The sound of her door shutting was deafening, a shockwave that rattled my bones. Was she really in that much of a hurry? I'm not a model, but I'm not exactly hard on the eyes either. You're gorgeous and all, but did you have to be so hostile to your new roommate? As I was stewing, Chloe's panicked, girlish voice exploded in my head again. That was terrifying. I thought my new roommate was going to be some total slob. He's not classically handsome, but he's tall and looks strong. And clean. He saw me with my makeup all messed up. My image is completely ruined. Okay, confirmed. I can actually hear Chloe Miller's thoughts. I stood rooted to the spot, staring at the closed door in disbelief. The content of her thoughts, the frantic energy in her mental voice. It was a universe away from the ice queen she presented to the world. So this is what the campus queen was. Really like, did I win the lottery or just step in something unbelievably lucky? Staring at her door, a very bold idea began to grow in my mind. For the next few days, Chloe and I were like two strangers who happened to share a zip code. When I got home from work to the old walk-up apartment, she'd already be locked away in her room. I guess the agent wasn't kidding about her being busy. The common area, however, became my staging ground. Every time she emerged, she brought a blast of Arctic air with her. She never made eye contact, her steps quick and purposeful, as if I were completely invisible. I, in turn, became a covert operative, grabbing a glass of water or scrolling on my phone while trying to find any opportunity to trigger her inner monologue. Unfortunately, Chloe's defenses were impenetrable. She never let me get within 10 feet of her. Until Saturday night. After finishing up a marketing proposal for the following week, a wave of hunger hit me. At this hour, my only option was the kitchen for some instant ramen. I went through the motions like a pro, and soon the savory scent of beef-flavored ramen filled the apartment. As the noodles steeped, I heard light footsteps behind me. That's right, Chloe. She was out, heading straight for the fridge. She'd changed into a loose, silky robe, her hair piled messily on her head, exposing the pale, elegant line of her neck. The hazy, half-hidden beauty of it was enough to drive a man crazy. My eyes glazed over. I pretended to stir the pot with a spoon, my heart thumping against my ribs. Opportunity. I lifted the lid and fanned the steam with my hand, sending a thick cloud of ramen fragrance her way. Then I glanced at her with an expectant look. Chloe's hand, holding a bottle of Fiji water, paused. Her nose twitched. Hey, Chloe, I made some ramen. Want some? I asked, flashing my most charming smile. Junk food. I don't eat that stuff, she said, lifting her water bottle as if to prove a point, her face a mask of cool indifference. She walked back to her room and clicked the door shut. A second later, her conflicted inner voice crashed into my brain. Oh my God, that smells incredible. Beef ramen. My absolute favorite. How can it smell that good? I just want one bite. Resist, Chloe. What about your Ice Queen persona? I'm starving. He looks kind of cute when he's focused on cooking. What am I thinking? I want that ramen. Slurp. I slapped a hand over my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. All right then. Looking at the tempting pot of noodles, I decided it was time for a precision strike. A few minutes later, I was at her door, holding 2 steaming, fragrant bowls of beef ramen. I knocked. Huh? Did she fall asleep? I knocked twice more. Still no answer, as if the room were empty. Just as I was getting confused, her internal battle resumed. Knock, knock, knock. Can't you just leave me alone? Wait, is it the smell of beef ramen? That scent is divine. Why is he knocking on my door? Is he trying to tempt me on purpose? But it smells so good. Chloe, you have to be strong. Do not open that door. But I cleared my throat, forcing myself to sound calm. Chloe, I made way too much. It'd be a shame to throw it out. You want to help me finish it? I'll just leave it by your door. I placed one of the bowls on a small stool next to her door. Then I went back to the small dining table and started eating my own bowl, my eyes and ears peeled for any sign of movement. 2 minutes passed. Just as I thought my plan had failed, I heard a soft click. A pale, slender hand snaked out from the crack in the door, quickly snatched the bowl, and pulled it inside. Slam. The door was shut tight again, as if she were terrified of being seen. I tiptoed over to her door and pressed my ear against it. I could hear the faint sound of slurping. Then, Chloe's unfiltered thoughts hit me again. How hot? Damn it, that's hot. So good. The broth is so rich. What is this garbage I usually make for myself? This is way better. Chloe, your persona is crumbling. Whatever, this is delicious. Holy crap, was this the same Ice Queen from campus? She sounded more like the girl next door, with a serious case of the munchies. I ducked my head, fighting a grin that was harder to suppress than machine gun recoil. One bowl of ramen had cracked the iceberg. Listening to the satisfied slurping from inside, I leaned back in my chair, feeling more pleased than I had in a long, long time. The next day at the office, my mind kept drifting to my next feeding operation. I was so distracted that I didn't finish my daily tasks and had to bring work home with me. That evening, I was holed up in my room, tweaking a marketing plan. Suddenly, I heard a cry of pain from the living room, followed by the clatter of a binder hitting the floor. I rushed out to find Chloe sprawled ungracefully on the ground. Her ankle was red and swollen. Her normally stoic face was twisted in a grimace, her eyes glistening. It looked like the heel of her shoe had gotten stuck in a crack between the floor tiles, causing her to twist her ankle and fall. The binder had burst open, scattering papers everywhere. She was clutching her right ankle, which was already puffing up, and beads of sweat dotted her forehead. The fall had caused the slit in her skirt to ride up, revealing a long stretch of smooth, pale thigh. I couldn't tear my eyes away, my mind instantly filled with fantasies. She looked up sharply and saw me gawking. She scrambled to pull her skirt down, the sudden movement aggravating her injury. Hiss! She winced, sucking in a sharp breath. As she tried to push herself up, "Don't move." I strode forward and knelt beside her, my tone firm and leaving no room for argument. Her body went rigid, like a startled porcupine. She crossed her arms over her chest, her face a mask of alarm. "I'm fine. I don't need your help." At the same time, her thoughts washed over me like a tidal wave. It hurts so much. Damn it, it hurts. My ankle is swelling up like a balloon. What if I broke something? And he saw the whole embarrassing thing. So humiliating. He's kneeling down. I'm wearing a skirt. Don't touch me. But it hurts so much, I can't stand up. This is a social death situation. I wish the floor would just swallow me whole. Seriously? Even now, she was trying to maintain that Ice Queen act. I had to be more assertive to get through to her. You really shouldn't move. If it's a bad sprain, moving will just make it swell up more, I said calmly, my voice unwavering. How are you going to get to work tomorrow? Ignoring her protests, I reached out and gently took hold of her leg just above the ankle, my hand over the fabric of her skirt. Soft, delicate. I could feel her muscles tense and her body tremble slightly. Her thoughts flooded my mind again. Perv, he's touching me. Even through my skirt, he can't do that, but his eyes look so clear, not creepy at all. And his hands are so steady and strong. Her mental voice was a jumble of panic, helplessness, and a tiny, surprising thread of excitement. Don't be nervous. Just try to relax, I said softly. My other hand gently supported her heel. I don't think it's broken. Probably just a sprained ligament. My touch was light as I gently probed the area. Hiss. Gently, Chloe gasped, a slight whimper in her mental voice. A minute later, her completely contradictory thoughts surfaced. He's actually trying to help. He's being so gentle, and the warmth from his hand feels nice. It doesn't hurt as much now. This was my chance. I quickly slid one arm under her knees and the other around her back, preparing to lift her in a princess carry. The floor is cold. I'll carry you to the sofa. It'll be easier to treat your ankle there. Chloe felt my movement and instantly panicked. No, absolutely not. Let me go, you creep. I ignored her words completely. Bending my knees and using my core, I lifted her smoothly and steadily into my arms. Wow, so soft. And she smelled amazing. That old saying about women being made of water was no joke, and that, combined with her unique scent, was intoxicating. Chloe let out a startled cry, instinctively throwing her arms around my neck to keep from falling. Well, this was a pleasant surprise. My own heart started hammering against my chest. Oh my God, he's carrying me. Princess style. Chloe, have you lost your mind? Let go of him. But we're so high up. If I let go, I'll fall. His chest is so broad. His arms are so strong. I can feel his heartbeat. Her thoughts were like bubbling lava, and a blush crept up her cheeks. I tried to ignore her inner monologue, not daring to look her in the eye. Taking a deep breath, I walked quickly to the sofa and gently set her down. Stay put. I turned and went to my room to get the first aid kit, not giving her a chance to argue. Luckily, I had taken a sports medicine elective in college. All that knowledge about first aid was finally coming in handy. I came back with an ice pack and an elastic bandage and knelt by the sofa. Chloe was clutching a throw pillow to her chest, trying to hide her flushed face. She looked a little resistant, but she didn't tell me to stop. This is going to be cold. Just breathe through it. I wrapped the ice pack in a thin towel and carefully placed it on her ankle. The cold shock made her whimper softly, her hands tightening on the pillow. Thankfully, she didn't jerk her leg away, which could have caused more damage. So cold, this is torture, wait. The pain is actually fading a little. Her thoughts went from panicked to surprised, and the knot in my own stomach loosened. I kept working, securing the ice pack with the elastic bandage like I'd done it 100 times. The living room fell silent, the only sound our soft breathing. After 15 minutes, the ice was working its magic, and her tense body began to relax. We sat there in a quiet, awkward silence. Suddenly, Chloe's voice popped into my head again. He's not as annoying as I thought, especially when he's focused on wrapping my ankle. He's actually really handsome. Score. The great thaw has officially begun. The corner of my mouth tilted up in a barely perceptible smirk. I continued to ice her ankle in intervals, and finally, the swelling went down quite a bit. She could stand on her own, as long as she didn't put too much weight on it. Chloe, do you need help getting back to your room? I asked, watching her limp cautiously. I felt a pang of sympathy. I don't need it, she said, drawing the words out as she hurried her pace. Slam. Then came the sound of her door. Right? Still an ice queen. I shook my head and went back to my room to finish the marketing plan. Damn it. Just as I was zeroing in on a key idea, her thoughts came through loud and clear. Chloe, are you being too sensitive? Ethan isn't like those other guys who harass you. I should really thank him for helping with my ankle. Maybe I'll make him breakfast tomorrow to say thanks. Wait, harassers? Was that why she was so cold and distant? Because she had to deal with too many creeps? And she was going to make me breakfast? Looks like she has a grateful heart after all. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. Thinking this, I couldn't stop the grin from spreading across my face. The next morning, I slept in on purpose, looking forward to the breakfast she promised. As I drifted in and out of sleep, I heard her thoughts again. Ouch! Damn it, this is killing me, of all the times for my period to show up. I was actually going to make him breakfast, and now that's ruined. Crap, I'm out of pads. And with my ankle, her thoughts cut off. I shot out of bed, threw on some clothes, and was downstairs and back in minutes with 2 packs of daytime pads, 1 pack of overnight ones, a heating pad, and a bag of brown sugar. I even stopped by the corner deli for 2 containers of hearty chicken noodle soup. I got back, put on a kettle, and made a quick mug of hot ginger tea with brown sugar. The whole trip took less than half an hour. I left everything on the living room table, then went and knocked on her door. Chloe, I said softly. Breakfast is ready. I waited. Nothing. Disappointed, I went back to the table and started on my own breakfast. Chloe, I'm heading to work now. I called out after knocking again. Don't forget to eat something. Still no reply. I sighed and left for the office. As I was sitting on the train, her thoughts finally came through. Ginger tea? Pads? Day and night? Chicken noodle soup? My favorite. How did he know all this? Wait, was moving in here part of a plan? Is he one of them? A stalker? Oh crap. She thought I was one of the creeps? Me being her roommate was a complete coincidence. This was a misunderstanding I had to fix. I slogged through another busy day and squeezed onto the train with the rest of the herd. As the car swayed, Chloe's frantic thoughts suddenly filled my head. I'm an idiot. I really lost my key. Ethan isn't home yet. What am I going to do? Chloe, how could you be so careless? An idea sparked in my mind. I got off at the next stop, found a hardware store that could make a quick copy, and had 2 new keys made. Then I headed back. Just as I expected, she was pacing anxiously in the hallway outside our door. I put on a calm expression, pretending I knew nothing. Chloe, what are you doing out here? You're home. Why don't you go in? She shot me a glare. None of your business. Just open the door. Oh, I said, feigning realization. You lost your key. I made a couple of copies. Here, take these. I held out the new keys. She hesitated for a moment before taking them, muttering a quiet thanks before quickly turning to unlock the door. She really did think I was a stalker, didn't she? I shook my head and followed her inside. A moment later, her confused, surprised, and slightly grateful thoughts drifted over. How'd he know? Losing my key was a coincidence, but what about my period yesterday? He's really different. He's easy on the eyes, thoughtful, and he really knows how to take care of someone. Whoa, Chloe, what are you thinking? It's not right for me to be so cold to him when we're roommates. Is it? Whatever, I'll just let things happen naturally. For now, I need to finish that work from today. Once a woman gets curious about a guy without being repulsed by him, it's a slippery slope. She was the ice queen, all right. Her guard was incredibly high. Being roommates with a workaholic meant you had to keep up. It was kind of a pain, actually. The marketing plan I'd busted my ass on last night had been sent back by my manager for revisions. I went back to my room to work on it. Half an hour later, I came out for some water and stopped dead in my tracks. I rubbed my eyes, sure I was seeing things. Chloe was sitting on the sofa, her laptop open, working. She was finally willing to be in the living room. I got my water, careful not to disturb her. As I headed back to my room, her frustrated thoughts reached me. I've revised this campaign proposal 3 times, and the client still isn't happy. Tomorrow is the final deadline, and I'm completely out of ideas. I fought so hard to land this account. Is it all going to fall apart? My hands hovered over my keyboard. What kind of campaign is so difficult? If I could help her solve this, I wonder if she'd see me in a new light. I cracked my door open and peeked out. Chloe was staring intently at her screen, running her hands through her hair in frustration. Her brow was furrowed, her cheeks puffed out. Suddenly, she reached for her water glass and found it empty. Shaking her head, she got up and went to her room to get it. My chance. I darted over to her laptop and scanned the screen. It was a brand campaign for a women's clothing line. Her proposal was, frankly, a bit dull and lacked a hook. An idea flashed in my mind. Why not add a Mommy and Me fashion show? Parents and their kids, wearing the brand's clothes, walking a runway together. It would showcase the product beautifully while creating a fun, collaborative experience for customers and their children. A perfect campaign. I could hear her footsteps getting closer. I grabbed a pen and a sticky note and wrote in big, clear letters, Parent-Child Fashion Show. I slapped it on the edge of her laptop and slipped back into my room just as she was coming out. Chloe returned with her water, sighing as she sat back down. Her eyes were glued to the proposal on her screen. She didn't even notice the note at first. It wasn't until she set her glass down that she finally saw it. The words Parent-Child Fashion Show jumped out at her. She froze for a second. Then her face lit up with a brilliant smile. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Half an hour later, she stood up, stretched, and muttered, "Perfect." Her eyes flickered toward my door before she closed her laptop and headed back to her room. A moment later, her grateful, yet slightly pouty, thoughts filled my head. This roommate of mine is really something else. If it weren't for his note, this campaign would have been a total disaster. Maybe I should take down that ridiculous contract from the fridge? Ugh, but he totally snooped on my laptop when I wasn't looking. Unforgivable. There's a really popular romance show on at 8:30. The remote is mine tonight. She was something else. A little something. I was more than that. I aced all my classes in college, never skipped a workout, and had a solid 8-pack to show for it. I was working at a Fortune 500 company and had become a rising star in my department in just 3 months. A bona fide natural. But a gentleman doesn't argue with a lady. I let it slide. Shaking my head, I got back to my own proposal. At 8:30 sharp, Chloe came out, sat on the sofa, and grabbed the remote. Just as she was getting into her show, the night sky outside lit up with a flash of lightning. A clap of thunder followed, and the wind began to howl as rain lashed against the windows. Chloe yelped, hugged her knees to her chest, and curled into a ball in the corner of the sofa. I had just finished my work and came out of my room to see her looking utterly terrified. It was almost funny. The unapproachable Ice Queen was afraid of thunderstorms. When she saw me, she immediately straightened up, trying to regain her composure. She looked calm on the surface, but I knew she was freaking out inside. Oh, great. He saw me looking like a scared little kid. Damn you, weather. Why now? He's definitely laughing at me in his head. I need an excuse. With that thought, she turned to me and said with a serious expression, "Don't get the wrong idea. I was just startled by what happened to the main character on the show." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. I decided not to call her out on it. The storm was raging, and the temperature in the apartment had dropped. I looked at her, shivering in her thin silk pajamas, her eyes glued to the TV. Seriously? People actually watch these cheesy romance dramas? And she was completely engrossed. I quietly went back to my room, grabbed a brand new fleece blanket, and made a quick cup of hot chocolate. I set the mug on the coffee table in front of her and handed her the blanket. "Drink this, it'll warm you up. And the blanket's new, don't worry." My words seemed to startle her. I could almost feel a wave of gratitude wash over her. This time, she actually smiled and said, "Thank you. Man, this mind-reading thing was a superpower." The iceberg was melting right before my eyes. As I was about to head back to my room to play some games, her thoughts came through again. "Don't go. The thunder is so loud. I'm scared. But this show is so good." I stopped in my tracks and turned around. "Chloe, would it be okay if I just played some games out here on my laptop?" "Yes." She cut me off before I could even finish. I froze, surprised by her eagerness. Chloe realized how desperate she sounded, and her face flushed with embarrassment. So there we were, Chloe watching her cheesy show, me playing solitaire. We didn't say a word. The silence couldn't have been more awkward, but hey, it was a start. We'd never actually spent time in the living room together before. Just as I cleared a game, Chloe's starstruck thoughts filled the air. "Wow, the male lead is so hot. That broad chest and the 8-pack abs. He looks like he could protect you from anything. If I had a boyfriend like that, those creeps would never bother me again. Ethan's about the same height. I wonder if he has an 8-pack. Whoa, why am I comparing Ethan to him?" I glanced up at Chloe and found her looking right at me. Our eyes met for a split second before we both looked away, flustered. "Hell yeah, I have an 8-pack. Come on, be my girlfriend. I'll protect you," I thought shamelessly. Half an hour later, the show was over. "Ethan, I'm heading to bed," she said. "Good night." With that, she went back to her room. My mind was buzzing. I stared at her closed door, unable to process what just happened. Was this real life? She actually voluntarily said good night to me. Project Iceberg Melt was making serious progress. Nice. I went to bed with a smile on my face. The next morning, I had just opened my eyes when Chloe's incredulous, bashful thoughts came pouring in. That was so weird. I dreamed that Ethan was my boyfriend last night. In the dream, he took his shirt off, and he actually had an 8-pack. Oh my God. Chloe, what is wrong with you? That's so embarrassing. But the Ethan in my dream was just like the guy on TV. So, manly, I shot out of bed like a rocket, showered, and got dressed in record time. Before Chloe even emerged from her room, I was downstairs and back with her favorite chicken noodle soup and a hard-boiled egg. Back in the apartment, I fantasized about us having a nice breakfast together. Chloe, I brought you breakfast. Come on out. I knocked on her door, my voice full of anticipation. But I waited, and there was no response. Disappointed, I sat down and started on my own breakfast. A few minutes later, Chloe's door finally opened. She was dressed for work. A crisp white blouse, black skirt, sheer black stockings, and heels. Her figure was incredible. I can't stare, that's rude. I stood up and smiled. Chloe, come have some breakfast. Her eyes darted to the soup and egg on the table, and I saw her swallow almost imperceptibly. She seemed a little hesitant, so I added, we're roommates. You don't have to be polite. Come on. Chloe paused, then finally nodded and came over, sitting down and murmuring, thanks. This was great. The two of us, eating breakfast at the same table. The atmosphere was almost nice. She took a careful spoonful of soup, then suddenly looked up at me, a blush on her cheeks. That parent-child fashion show idea. Thank you. Don't mention it. Just don't hold it against me for snooping on your laptop, I said, rubbing the back of my neck with an embarrassed laugh. Chloe froze, her spoon hovering in midair. Her confused thoughts came right on cue. How'd he know I'd be mad? But he did help me out big time. And he got me breakfast. Okay, I'll let it slide this time. Don't let it happen again, she said aloud. I'm heading to work now. She grabbed a binder and walked out the door. Awesome. A real breakthrough. Keep it up, kid. And it was true. In the following days, Chloe and I interacted more and more. Our relationship got better and better. We were finally starting to feel like actual roommates. We'd smile and say hello when we saw each other, and even chat and laugh in the living room. From her thoughts, I knew her opinion of me was getting pretty high, which led me to wonder, did I actually have a shot at being her boyfriend? One day, I was heading home from work as usual, taking the early train back. As I reached the bottom of our apartment stairs, I heard Chloe's frantic, terrified thoughts. Ethan, please come home. Vance has lost his mind. He's trying to force me to be his girlfriend. He's about to get physical. What do I do? Ethan, please come save me. What the hell? Someone was messing with my roommate? Like I didn't even exist. I took the 5 flights of stairs 2 at a time. When I burst into the hallway, I saw a greasy, overweight man with a lecherous grin on his face, his arms spread wide as he lunged for Chloe. Chloe was pale with terror, stumbling backward until she was cornered against the wall. My fists clenched. I launched myself forward and hit the greasy bastard with a flying kick right to his side. Ark! The man flew several feet and landed in a heap, clutching his side and howling in pain. Chloe stared at me like I was a superhero who just descended from the heavens. The shock wore off, and she burst into tears. I walked over and helped her to her feet. She immediately threw her arms around me and sobbed, her tears soaking my shirt. I gently patted her back. It's okay, I murmured. I'm here. You're safe. Chloe continued to cry softly, and her thoughts reached me again. Ethan's chest is so warm. I feel so safe. That kick was so powerful. He definitely has an 8-pack. I wish he was my boyfriend. I would feel so protected. Oh God, I don't want to let go of him. Damn it, Chloe, get a grip. Hearing her innermost thoughts, I was careful not to make any sudden moves. The greasy guy managed to pull himself together and started yelling. You son of a bitch. You dare kick me? Do you have any idea who I am? This asshole. Still trying to act tough. Did he think my 8-pack was just for show? I gently guided Chloe to stand on her own, then walked over to him. You see? Now you know you messed up. Get on your knees and apologize, and then you're going to pay for my... Before he could finish, I slapped him twice hard across the face. The slaps seemed to knock some sense into him. This guy's crazy, he thought. I need to get out of here. I'll get some guys to take care of him later. I saw the defiance in his eyes and clenched my fist, ready to punch him in the gut. Dude, I'm sorry, he yelped, seeing my intention. I shouldn't have been a creep. Please, just let me go. He scrambled to his feet and bowed low. Oomph, I snorted. Apologizing to me is useless. You should be begging for her forgiveness. Otherwise, I cracked my knuckles menacingly. The man looked at Chloe, then scurried over and knelt in front of her. Chloe, I love you so much. I just lost control. That's why I did something so awful. I'll never do it again. Please, just forgive me this one time. Chloe's brow furrowed in disgust. You think you have a right to call me Chloe? Warren, you harass me all the time. That's one thing. But trying to force yourself on me, I will never forgive you. Hearing that, I delivered another swift kick that sent him sprawling. Sorry, I said. The lady says no. Looks like I'll have to beat you up and then throw you out. With that, I laid into him with a flurry of punches and kicks. His screams echoed through the old building. When I was tired, I hauled him up like a sack of garbage and threw him out the front door of the building. You ever harass Chloe again, and I'll do this every time I see you, I snarled. Then I turned and went back to her. Chloe, and you bastard who hit me, this isn't over. Warren Vance yelled as he limped away. After dealing with him, my heart was pounding. If I couldn't hear her thoughts, God knows what would have happened. Chloe was standing right where I left her, her eyes fixed on the stairwell. The tension didn't leave her body until she saw me coming back up. She rushed over and looked me up and down. Ethan, are you okay? That was so scary. Don't worry, I said, flexing a bicep. This muscle isn't just for show. The guy was close to 200 pounds, and he was no match for me. Ethan, thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. If you hadn't shown up when you did, I don't know what. She started to tear up again. It's okay. You don't have to be scared. I'm here, I said, patting her shoulder reassuringly. Come on, let's go inside. I'll make you your favorite beef ramen. I took out my key and opened the door. Chloe wiped her tears and even managed a small smile. I want 2 hot dogs in it this time. You got it. It seemed like she was starting to recover. I went into the kitchen to make the ramen. Just as I dropped the noodles into the pot, Chloe's worried thoughts came through again. Warren Vance is my department manager. After this, he's definitely going to make my life hell at work. What am I going to do? I need this job. My family's expenses, my sister's tuition. It all depends on my salary. I can't quit, but I can't stand the thought of facing that creep every day. Someone, please help me. Damn it. That fat pig was her manager? He was definitely not going to let this go. I needed to come up with a perfect plan. Chloe couldn't lose her job, but that bastard had to be punished. I stared at the bubbling ramen broth, and an idea sparked. 5 minutes later, 2 fragrant bowls of beef ramen were ready. I quickly brought them out to the table. Chloe's eyes lit up at the smell. She rushed over. Ethan, your ramen smells amazing. Can you teach me how to make it? Sure thing, I said, grinning proudly. Next time, I'll teach you step by step. Humph. Step by step? Sounds like an excuse to get fresh with me, she retorted, but she was already slurping her noodles without looking up. Food really was the ultimate cure. I sat across from her and started eating, enjoying the explosion of flavor. The living room was completely silent except for the sound of our enthusiastic slurping. After I finished, I propped my chin on my hand and just watched her eat. She was devouring it, but somehow she still looked incredibly elegant. The steam rising from the bowl couldn't hide her flawless features. I was completely mesmerized. It wasn't until Chloe finished her bowl and let out a little laugh that I snapped out of it. Sorry, I said, jumping up. You look really captivating when you eat. I couldn't help but stare. She stood up. As she got her bedroom door, she turned back, her expression serious. Ethan, thank you. Then she disappeared inside. As she turned, I saw the shadow of worry in her eyes. I clenched my fists, making a silent vow. I would never let her get hurt again. Warren Vance, huh? Department manager. I went to my room, pulled out my phone, and dialed a familiar number. In a messy apartment across town, a young man with a mop of unruly hair sat in front of a computer, slurping his own bowl of ramen. He stared at the information displayed on his screen and mumbled to himself. Apex Consolidated, Marketing Department Manager, Warren Vance. Wow, this guy's a real piece of work. Using his position to pressure female employees into sleeping with him, even secretly recording them. The ones who refuse, he makes their lives miserable until they quit. He's also selling company secrets to a competitor. Looks like he's made almost 500,000, stealing credit from his subordinates, taking kickbacks. Tisk TSK. What a guy. He took another slurp of noodles, then packaged all the information and sent it to my email. I read through the file on Warren Vance, cursing under my breath. Human garbage. If it weren't illegal, I'd kill him myself. I call my friend back. Kev, I need you to leak this to the Apex Consolidated Internal Network as fast as you can. Make sure every single executive gets a copy. After hanging up, I finally felt a sense of relief and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I was staring blankly at my computer at work, wondering what was happening with Vance, when Chloe's excited, thrilled thoughts burst into my head. Yes, that scumbag Vance did so many horrible things. He's finally getting what he deserves. I can't believe he hurt so many other women. Thank God for Ethan. If it weren't for him, I would have been one of them. I have to tell Ethan the good news as soon as I get home. I'm going to eat 2 bowls of ramen to celebrate. Ethan's going to be so happy when he hears. He'll probably jump for joy. I can't wait. Heh, anyone who messes with Chloe deserves what's coming to them. I'd have to make 4 bowls of ramen with extra beef to celebrate. Chloe had no idea I was the one who arranged it. She wanted to surprise me, so I'd give her a shock of her own. Who knows? Maybe she'd even throw herself into my arms. I couldn't wait. I practically flew home after work, buying a ton of groceries on the way, including plenty of beef and ramen, of course. Before Chloe got back, I cooked up a feast. There was a huge pot of braised beef for the ramen, barbecue ribs, mac and cheese, and a zesty chicken salad. The whole apartment smelled incredible. I had just taken off my apron when I heard her excited thoughts from the hallway. That smells amazing. Beef ramen? And are those barbecue ribs? Mac and cheese? And chicken salad? Am I dreaming? Ouch. Nope, not dreaming. Did I walk into the wrong apartment? No, this is it. This is the apartment I share with Ethan. Could it be? I stood behind the door, ready to greet her. Click. The door opened. Welcome home to the beautiful and talented Chloe Miller, I announced with a flourish. A feast has been prepared in your honor. Please proceed to wash up before dining. I gave her a deep, welcoming bow. I feel like I'm being wrapped in a cloud of happiness. Ethan is thoughtful, caring, brave, and a hard worker. And I had no idea he could cook like this. Whoever ends up being his girlfriend is going to be the luckiest woman in the world. Wait, I live here. I have the home field advantage. Oh my God, Chloe, what are you thinking? Chloe stood frozen in the doorway, her inner world in a complete uproar as her thoughts tumbled into my mind. Wow, in just a short time, Mount Chloe had completely melted. I couldn't believe she thought so highly of me. This was great. Chloe, don't just stand there. The food's getting cold, I said, snapping her out of her trance. Chloe stared at the spread on the table and sat down without even washing her hands. I had to bring a bowl of warm water and a fresh towel to the table for her. After she'd wiped her hands, she eagerly served herself a huge bowl of the beef ramen and dug in. Oh my God, this is pure happiness. Crap, if Ethan gets a girlfriend, I won't get to eat his cooking anymore. No, I have to lock down this meal ticket. But for me to confess to him, hearing her thoughts, I was so stunned that I dropped my chopsticks. Ethan, I have some great news to tell you, she said, her mouth full. Really? I have some great news for you, too. You go first. No, you go first. We looked at each other and laughed, a little awkwardly. Ladies first, I said, gesturing for her to go on. Chloe's eyes sparkled. Warren Vance's crimes were all leaked to the company by a hacker. He's been taken away by the police. He's probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison. I already knew, so I wasn't surprised. Chloe looked at me, confused by my lack of excitement. Aren't you happy? I pulled out my phone and showed her the file Kev had sent me, the one detailing all of Vance's crimes. Her eyes went wide with disbelief. The forkful of food she was lifting stopped in midair, dripping sauce onto the table unnoticed. It was all Ethan's doing. He's a computer genius, too. This is insane. It feels so good to be protected. He's like a hidden treasure. He's amazing. I have to make him mine. I have to make him my boyfriend. Her thoughts made my own heart start to pound. Oh my God, was she going to make a move on me? Should I say yes? Or should I say yes? Ethan, before she could finish, I cut her off. I'm in. I want to be your boyfriend. Our eyes locked. Sparks flew. Boom. A loud clap of thunder rattled the windows. Chloe, startled and pale, yelped and launched herself across the table and into my arms. I held her tight, stroking her back. "Don't be afraid," I said. "I'll protect you from now on." I heard her whisper against my chest. "Okay."